Wonderful. So good morning once again. My name is Waldemar Schecke. I'm the CEO of STORDIS. So how many people here have heard about STORDIS? Hands up. Oh, there are a few. This is good. It's showing me that our marketing is doing a quite good job in general. So today we want to talk about two topics, the open source monitoring and configuration tools which we develop open source. But before we are jumping into it, I wanted also to give you a bit of an overview of what we are doing as an organization. So we are in the open disaggregated networking field since 10 years. So we started our journey back in 2014. Now we are 10 years later, and what has happened? I mean, we made a lot of experience with Cumulus Linux, PK8, people coming, disappearing, getting acquired, and I believe the only thing which was leaving open and consistently being there was always SONiC. So 4 years back, we were jumping onto the SONiC train in general, and we are looking at it, of course, from a distributor integration perspective, which might be a bit different to what we heard. There are a couple of points which were raised today, and I believe they are very important to get SONiC into the enterprise, because we want to deploy it with customers, and we do not want customers coming to us all the time asking silly questions. Why is that not working? Why is that not working? And when we started our journey, I really have to say, implementing the community SONiC approach, was showing us already several difficulties on the hardware side with fans going up and down, crazy things are happening. So something was just simply wrong with the BSP and other things. So for us, I mean, we had a hardware platform. We had rock solid vendors there who were supplying anyway the mega scale, hyperscale people. Yeah, but it was not enough. And when we merged SONiC and the hardware together and went out into the market, we saw an completely other need or demand. Yeah. There was a demand from the customers to get, first of all, a support service. So if you have a disaggregated approach in the enterprise field, who's taking care and who's taking care of the hardware and software? Who's the main contact person? Who's providing the support service? Who's there 24/7 if I have my mission critical infrastructure? Yeah, to help me in such a case. So these things, and if I'm looking back the last 4 years, that was exactly what we were focusing on, what we were building up. We were building up a support team who's capable of supporting SONiC, so we are there 24/7 for our customers, first of all. Yeah. We thought, okay, it's a good step, going forward. Of course, we needed to offer an integration service and consultancy on how do I build my architecture, doing the designs, low level, high level, both. But even that was not enough. And I heard today that there is no way to get an CCNA type of certification for SONiC, and this is just simply not correct. Yeah, that was one point which was asked by our customers. So now I need to train my staff. How do I do that? Yeah, I need to have an automated mechanism there to run the trainings, and this is what we initiated as STORDIS. We have our daughter company sitting in Poland, Route to Open, and in Route to Open we are running a SONiC Academy. So you can get fully certified on SONiC. You can run SONiC, you can also run through a boot camp even process where you have lots of hands-on sessions, so step by step, and that was one of the main pieces to get there. One final point, and this is something where we are still, I believe, all together sitting in one boat and are a bit behind. It's about the usability. Yeah. I was raising the point when Taras was speaking here from PL Vision about the orchestration, right? So in a data center field, yes, he's completely right. You have mostly a greenfield deployment, and a greenfield deployment does not need to have any toolings, any sets of managing a heterogeneous network, which is not only built on SONiC. Once we make the step forward to an campus environment, that's exactly what is happening. So at this point, and you can see, I mean, we deployed already today, during the last time, close to 4,500 platforms. All based on SONiC, and the business is growing for us. There is more and more happening, but I believe, the key here is the application, the tools to make it more user-friendly. And I'm handing over to my colleague Kamal, who will make an introduction to the 2 open source tools which we are developing. And I would also like to encourage you, of course, to join us, do it in community work, make this available for customers.
Thank you very much, Valdi. My name is Kamal Bhatt, and I'm going to speak about 2 open source projects, Monsoon and ORCA, which are focusing towards monitoring and configuration needs of SONiC switches. So Monsoon, let's speak about it and have a look what it is capable of doing, what is the architecture. So this is the top level architecture of Monsoon. As you can see, on the top we have Grafana and Prometheus like tools. These are quite popular tools, aren't they? I mean, many of you already been using it. But for general purposes, not very SONiC specific things. For those who don't know, Grafana and Prometheus, Grafana is basically a data visualization tool. You can make your dashboards, display the data in form of graphs, pie charts, and so on and so forth. Prometheus, on the other hand, is a time series database, which collects data from some sources, whatever it would be, some machines, some PC servers, this and that. And this time series data then being displayed on the Grafana. So to supply the data to Prometheus, Prometheus comes with some terminology called exporters. These are basically agents sitting on the devices. And believe me, there is a bunch of exporters already available in the market which you can use to monitor your machines. But there is nothing specific to SONiC. There was nothing specific to SONiC until we developed this thing called SONiC exporter on the left side of the diagram. So how does this whole stack works is, you have your SONiC switch, you need to pull the Docker image of SONiC exporter onto the switch, and your agent is ready. So this SONiC exporter was developed from the scratch as a part of Monsoon project, and rest of the things, whatever you see on the screen, is already open source and available in the market. For example, on the right side of the diagram, you see something called node exporter. This is again a very popular agent when it comes to general system monitoring, the resource monitoring, your CPU uses, your memory uses, disk uses, how your network is being utilized. So that general monitoring you can use node exporter. But when it comes to SONiC and networking specific metrics, SONiC exporter is the way you go. And this is fully open source project. There are links which you can see on the screen. Please feel free to visit and use it. For quick start for you guys, we have this public live demo running 24/7 in read-only mode. You cannot configure anything or you cannot delete, but to have a feel what all metrics are supported as of today and how you can benefit it. So you feel free to visit this link, monsoon.stordis.com:8080. You need not to log in. You will just see the dashboard and you can browse through all the metrics which are being supplied from SONiC exporter. And in the backend, of course, we have some SONiC switches running. By the way, these are GNS3 hosted simulated switches. One of them also a hardware switch, but just feel free to play around with the tool. Before I discuss the roadmap, I mean, you would have already noticed there is a basic problem with the existing architecture we have in Monsoon. First of all, why we need to have additional agents on the switch? It makes impact on the switch performance, even if it's on CPU only. Especially when during the past couple of years, the management framework has evolved too much that it is capable of supplying maximum of metrics what we get out of SONiC exporter. And SONiC exporter is not the only thing. Somebody says, I need journal system monitoring as well. Then he will install one more container called node exporter, as I was showing. So list is endless. But the beauty of SONiC is you need not to install anything. You have management framework, telemetry, Docker container running, supplying. So that was the caveat with the previous design we had. So how do we solve it? We try to solve it with this architecture. That is in the roadmap, that is being worked upon, that is not available as of today, but we are working on it. It's just a heads up for you guys where we are heading with Monsoon. So we tend to use this tool called Telegraph. On the left and the right side, you see input and output. Telegraph is a tool that is very much plugin driven. So you have a bunch of list of input plugins and a list of output plugins. You take data from one side and you output it to another side. So after some research, what we have figured out is there is an input plugin called gNMI already available. And aren't we having gNMI already running on our switches? If we speak about Broadcom SONiC, as soon as you bring up the switch, there is gNMI readily available. RESTCOM server as well. You need not to install anything. You need not to touch or configure anything to use gNMI or RESTCOM. But with this gNMI plugin, there is again a problem. That's why we are here. This gNMI plugin is based on the subscription notifications. So unlike RESTConf, gNMI has this very special thing which differentiates gNMI from other protocols is this subscription notification. Instead, for monitoring needs, pulling the data continuously from a device, you can subscribe to certain paths, and your application can sit idle. And whenever some change happens on the device itself pushes the information to the application. So it's lots of overhead of application is basically given to the protocol itself. gNMI, this plugin, this is an open source, already available, very good. We need not to do anything. Just integrate all those tools, it will work fine. No, it won't, because not all paths in the open config model, the model on which the gNMI protocol is based, are not subscriptable by any enterprise SONiC, whatever it is. There is only a subset of open config models which you can subscribe and can continuously receive the notifications. Perhaps Cisco had the similar problem. So how did they solve it? They created a new input plugin that is based on basically the original gNMI open source plugin. By the way, this is also open source. And this stack would work fine with the Cisco operating systems quite nicely. But what we do with SONiC? Shall we again develop a plugin that would be SONiC, gNMI, telemetry, and integrate it? Yes, we will have to do that. But do we need to do that from scratch? Not really, because we have some gNMI client and subscription client which is able to make gNMI gets a request to SONiC devices already available. So here I would like to discuss the next project, that is ORCA. So far we have seen the monitoring aspect of SONiC. You can monitor, okay, whatever is happening. With the Grafana, you have escalations also possible. You can configure, for example, Teams notifications, email notifications based on certain failures happening in your network. But how about configuration? The ORCA is the answer. ORCA is again an open source tool initiated by STORDIS. It is focusing towards orchestration and configuration aspects of SONiC. This is the top level architecture of ORCA. The brainer, the thing which does the heavy lifting of whole system is sitting at the very bottom. In this blue rectangle, you see something called ORCA network library. That is a Python-based gNMI client. In very layman term, I can say it like that. But it's not only that. It speaks to your SONiC switches over gNMI interface. It also subscribes for certain notifications to be received directly from the devices. And it also maintains a real-time topology graph database. That is, for that we are using Neo4j as its community version. That is very much sufficient for our need. So on the top of this ORCA network library, anything you see is the consumer of this layer. For example, in ORCA network library, I have some Python APIs to perform get set operations on the devices. On the top, we have this Django Python server that acts like a REST wrapper on the top of our very basic Python APIs. This is important because then we can put a layer of UI, user interface, on the top of it as well. So as you see, this is a full stack solution for SONiC configuration. We have a database, especially the real-time database, that is being updated using gNMI subscriptions continuously. Again, I'm putting this thing, not everything is subscriptable. So for some things, we still need to poll. So whatever we can subscribe, we utilize that. But for rest of the things, we poll. And yes, as I said, it's a full stack. You have end-to-end solution here. It's again open source, as I have mentioned. So feel free to visit this stordis.github.io, our GitHub page for all the development projects, their documentation, and our GitHub account as well. You will find all our repositories out there. Before I jump into the next slide, there is one more special mention here. The Django server I mentioned, Django, if you guys have used it, it's very much plugin driven web server framework. So you can bring in more and more applications, plugins, you can develop them and bring them to your web server. So the example is like, for example, user authentication is a plugin for normal login, logout stuff we are doing, networking in the middle right here. It is actually the wrapper around the APIs of this ORCA network library. And we have this special thing called ORCASK. What is ORCASK? ORCA is a project, a plugin, an application called ORCASK is an AI chatbot. How about if instead of clicking some buttons, I can simply say configure a VLAN called 2 with certain configurations in my natural language, whatever it could be. And that is converted to actual function calls of ORCA network library. That is what we are trying to achieve as a part of ORCASK here. That is a zoomed in view of ORCASK. So in the UI, we have a section for where you can, or user can input in their natural language, basically. It reaches Django, and the relative application, that is ORCASK, it is triggered. Then it tries to figure out what is the user query. Get me all the devices whose system status is ready, for example. So it will consult our LLMs. Now LLMs comes into the picture here. Let's speak about OpenAI. We are using GPT 3.5 for this function prediction, basically. So this normal sentence comes into the system. ORCASK tries and contacts OpenAI model. Okay, get me the prediction. Which functions are fitting best according to the user input? And OpenAI gives us the function names, parses the parameters, passed to the function, and the result is sent back to the user after calling the ORCA's network library. So there is you guys would have already noticed that we are sending our request to cloud because OpenAI GPT 3.5 models are not available locally. You cannot host them in premise. These are only available in cloud. So we have tested this solution with other LLMs as well. To mention here, we have this Llama model tested with ORCASC. So Llama also supports this special functionality to call your functions. So function calling is the thing what we are expecting out of LLMs. So there are a bunch of LLMs which does this. So it's simple. You take your natural language input, map it to the APIs in the backend, and send the result back. That's it. In top level, this is how this ORCA system is working. So this is about ORCA and Monsoon. This is the UI. I just put a screenshot to give you guys an idea how the UI looks like. There are currently basic underlay functionalities configurable, and you can also discover them. On the top, you have this Discover Network button. Discovery works with the seeding method, where you can give one of the IPs of the devices in your network, and using the LLDP neighborhood parsing or reading the LLDP table of each device, it discovers the full network if every other device is connected to each other. So this is quite simple tabular way. You can see what we can discover and configure as well. So interfaces, we can configure and discover port channel, MC-lag, BGP, port groups, VLANs, and STP. You can configure and discover as well as of today. So the ORCAs I was speaking about, it's on the left-hand side panel. If you click, a simple chatbot appears, and it is as good as clicking the buttons and doing the configuration. Instead, you are typing something out there. Whether your configuration got successful or failed, if failed, what was the reason? That is very clearly mentioned here. And the good thing about SONiC implementation is that you need not to derive the failure reason by yourself. It is coming from the device itself. A big relief for us. A glimpse of the Neo4j database. So what you see on the screen is that we haven't developed. This is a open source Neo4j supplied web console. This is the front end for the Neo4j database, and all the links, LLDP neighborhood, BGP neighborhood kind of relations we do maintain in Neo4j database. That's how it looks. So currently, if you really want to see a topology view, that's not possible on the UI, but you'll, as of today, will have to switch to the Neo4j web console. So that's pretty much of it about, Monsoon and ORCA. If you guys have any questions, yes, please.
So for Monsoon, what is the hardware footprint on the
Yes.
course, on the memory? It's all nice on slide. Yeah. Like how big it is?
I don't have the numbers, but it's not that significant. With this SONiC exporter, you won't have any problem. Unfortunately, I do not have the numbers. But Node exporter, this another open source beast, is quite heavy to run on the CPUs. That's why we really want to keep Monsoon agent free.
And the exporter will run on the switch, or you run
Yes.
outside?
No, that run also on the switch. These are additional Docker.
How you prioritize the processes, BGP daemons vis-a-vis these things? How do you do that? You have a scheduler.
Yes.
So maybe a little bit.
How the Prometheus exporter works is it frequently reads data from somewhere. So this
From the DB, yeah, from the.
yes, for now we are using our SONiC Redis database to get the information from. That's by the way, that's not the ideal way to read the database. Our friend from Pantheon was mentioning Redis database usage. That's a big challenge. These guys are running, especially if I speak about this thing, we can configure the frequency on which it should supply the data to Prometheus. So it is continuously polling your Redis database. For some metrics, we also execute CLI commands. And in SONiC, for some commands, you can pass --JSON flag, and it's not like string output, but a very well formatted JSON output that is very
Do you
useful.
think this can be alternative to SFlow and NetFlow collectors?
Yeah, definitely. Why not? But at the end,
At 800 gigabit scale, you think you can?
if your use case is to monitor thing, I would say hold on with these exporters, rely upon the management framework, telemetry, Docker container, which is already running. The problem is with every coming SONiC release, this is very much expected that some schema in the database changes. Then that matrix disappears. And this is very least likely that the open config model will change. That's already a industry standard. So that doesn't change so frequently. So the gNMI output, sorry, I'm running out of time. So any further questions? Otherwise, before we finish, I mean, we have some valuable goodies for you guys directly coming from our STORDIS SONiC Academia. So I would like to call Valdi once again to announce that. Thank you.
Just quickly, let me jump up. So what we defined also as a starting point, maybe to have mentioned it, if you want to have and plug and play, just download it, bring it up, overview of SONiC. We defined, and it's just a one simple click on our website. You can download a GNS environment. It's an leaf spine topology, and you're off to go. So you can play around with SONiC. You can. Oh, no, it's better not touching. And that's pretty simple. What I have with me actually for you, if you are interested in having a training, right, getting into the CCNA, I have some vouchers for you here to just attend our academy. Yeah. So just let me know. I have them with me. Please feel free, and I'll hand it over to you. Thank you so much.